as we await for the states that tend to be the swing states and the battleground states. Just one point I want to note. If we look at
All right, so we are up watching the polls as they come in. I know y'all may be like, why am I watching CNN? Because on Fox News they not really covering it how CNN covering it. They doing a lot more talking and I'm not really interested in talking right now. I'm trying to see what's going on with these polls as they coming in. So Fox News kind of slipping by doing a whole lot of talking instead of actually showing the polls as they come in. So CNN it is. They're making a hell of a lot more interesting.
300,000 votes.
I'm sorry, I gotta give it to
Half the
them.
count is good, but there's still a long way to go. Just want to check. This is where
See
the
what I'm
Democrats have to
saying?
run it up. Remember,
Fox
Cobb
News
County
doing a
last
whole
time we
lot of
checked,
talking. I'm
Trump
trying to
was winning.
see
Harris is
what's
now winning
going
with
on.
57% of the vote. 57% of the count in. She's got 57% of the vote. You move over. That's around where Biden was 4 years ago, a little tiny bit above. That's what she wants to do. You come over to DeKalb County. Biden was at 83. The vice president is at 75. Very early in the count there. Keep an eye on that. She'd have to make that. That would be a big. That would be, if she's underperforming Biden there. That would be a big deal. And again, just want to show you the Trump base. I'm going to just pick one randomly. Wilcox County. I did that one before, so let's pick another one. Pulaski County, right above it. 95% of the vote in. 70% for Donald Trump. Not a lot of votes, but this is what he does in rural America. 69% 4 years ago. So a little bit. 100 votes here, 100 votes there. They matter as you're trying to win a battleground state. We'll see how that one plays out. Let's just pop up to North Carolina. Let's see again, 51% to 48% if you round that up. This is an incredibly competitive state. And again, I just want to check in on how Trump is doing in these small rural counties. 80% of the vote in Macon County. He's got 68% when you round up. You come back here, 68%. He'll run tiny bit behind, but that's about equal to where he was before. So you're looking right now, battleground North Carolina, battleground Georgia, battleground Pennsylvania. Come back to 2024. Some votes coming in slowly in battleground Michigan as well. As we continue to count and go, just check and see if anything else is changing up. Let's take a quick look at Michigan before we have
I heard you. I
here.
don't want to use it.
59%, but look at all the votes are here. Let's check here. This is Kent County, a key suburban area. If Trump can hold on to this one, he'll win Michigan, but we're very, very
I actually need a dog show up on the
All right,
TV
John,
more
well,
better.
polls are about to close in deep red Arkansas, where 6 electoral votes are at stake. And CNN can project that Donald Trump will win the state of Arkansas, as expected. Donald Trump will take home Arkansas's 6 electoral votes. Let's take a look at the electoral map count now. Donald Trump in the lead with 105 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 27 electoral votes. There are 270 electoral votes needed to win. Let's take a look at where there are states that have not been projected yet in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris.
Like I just explained to you, I'm watching CNN because they making a hell of a lot more interesting actually showing the polls as they come in. Fox News just doing a whole lot of talking, and that's just really turning me off. Like they doing talking. I'm not really interested in no fucking talking. I'm trying to see these polls as they coming in. So I gotta give CNN that they doing a hell of a lot better job making it more interesting.
6% of the estimated vote in from Michigan. Still a lot of votes to be counted in Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Harris in the lead there. 49.8% of the vote, but Donald Trump bringing up the rear. 48.9% of the vote. Harris has right now a approximately 7,200 vote lead. That's with 14% of the estimated vote in North Carolina counted. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead with 55.4% of the vote. Kamala Harris bringing up the rear with 44% of the vote. Donald Trump with a healthy 322,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than half of the vote counted in Georgia. 53% of the estimated vote in Georgia counted. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Kamala Harris in the lead with 50% of the vote. Donald Trump with 48.2% of the vote. Harris with a 30,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than a third, 39% of the estimated vote in from Virginia counted. In the state of New Hampshire, Kamala Harris in the lead, 54.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 45.3% of the vote. Harris with a 13,000 plus vote lead. That's with an estimated 18% of the estimated vote out of New Hampshire counted. In Ohio, Donald Trump in the lead, 50.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 48.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 36,000 plus vote lead. That's with an estimated 41% of the estimated vote in from Ohio. And now we can make a projection in a closely watched race for governor. CNN can project that Democrat Josh Stein will be elected governor of North Carolina. Stein is the current Attorney General. We are projecting that he will defeat his Republican opponent, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who had Donald Trump's endorsement. Robinson's history of controversy became a major issue in the race, including recently uncovered, shall we call them, inflammatory posts on a porn website from more than a decade ago. Again, CNN projects the Democrats will hold on to the governor's office in North Carolina, with Attorney General Josh Stein replacing the term-limited Governor Roy Cooper. John?
And Jake, one of the big questions in North Carolina, as you know, is Democrats were somewhat hopeful that maybe the scandal in the governor's race might help them, and the Trump campaign was nervous that with the Republican candidate Robinson in trouble, would Trump be impacted by that? So let's just take a quick look at it. You see North Carolina, this is the presidential race, very close at the moment. We're only at about 15% of the statewide vote count, so a long way to go in a state we expect to be tight. It is tight from the get-go in the early count. I just want to switch over and look at the governor's race. Excuse me, it's down here. Look at the governor's race. So you have the Democrat here at 49.4, the Democratic candidate for president. If you look at the governor's race, Josh Stein winning 56% of the vote. So you have a lot of ticket splitting happening in North Carolina right now. People who are voting for Donald Trump who simply could not vote for Mark Robinson for governor. And so at least at the moment, not the benefit that the Harris campaign was hoping for, at least no evidence of a giant benefit that the Harris campaign was hoping for in North Carolina from the scandal around the Republican gubernatorial candidate. So what do we have here? The key Sun Belt battleground, North Carolina, Georgia, and then we go west, Arizona and Nevada, 648 votes ahead. That's why we call them battleground states. We're only at 14% of the count. And so you come out here, let's just go west to east, 73% for the vice president, 20.
DeSantis has done incredible work to make Florida a place that a lot of my own liberal friends are happy to be living. But that is an inefficient vote when you are trying to become president. And Donald Trump went to a lot of places, like having a rally here at Madison Square Garden, going to Coachella to give a rally, spending time in New Mexico, which he lost twice. And I think that if Kamala Harris is victorious tonight, there should be some examination of why those campaign stops happened and if his time would have been better spent parked in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Arizona, and one of the blue wall states that he has to pick up, Pennsylvania for sure.
Yeah, we'll see how that inefficient vote it's a real issue, and we have to see whether or not it actually pans out. And one of the reasons he went to New York and New Mexico and were these house races. I mean, there are house races in all of those places, so. And she did the same thing in places as well.
We're going to have, hold on, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with the panel, and we're going to dig into
All he has to do is improve a little smidgen in the suburbs or in the urban areas, and you're more competitive in the state. So let's just check the suburbs around Atlanta, because this is where if Trump is performing in the rural areas, as it looks like he is, turning out his base, then the race will be settled here by the margins in the suburbs. Only 16% of the vote in, so let's be careful. 60% for Vice President Harris, or again, more important almost is can Trump move his numbers up? 39% in the suburbs right now, Gwinnett County suburbs, it was 40%. So at the moment in this one suburb, he's got some work to do. We'll see if he can do it. Let's move down here to DeKalb County. This is the most Democratic of the suburbs just to the east of Atlanta. 83% President Biden had in winning the state 4 years ago. The vice president running a little bit behind that right now, but look, that's not even 1,000 votes. So we have a ways to go before we have to worry about any comparison there. Let's drop down to Clayton County, the Atlanta airport just south of Atlanta. Big Democratic stronghold. This was critical to Biden coming back in Georgia as they counted the votes in 2020. Trump had an early lead, but as the count went on into the day after and the day after that, Clayton County was one of the places where Joe Biden got a lot of votes, and you see 85% for the vice president, about 3/4 of the count, 76% right there. So how does that compare to 2020? About the same, right? You got 85 when you round that up. You got 85 when you round that up. So here we go in Georgia again. So far as you go through it, you've got a very competitive race. So that one's competitive. Let's come out of there. I want to go up and look at Michigan. We haven't spent any time here yet. Only 6% of the voting. So be careful about anything, but you're trying to look and see what happens. Again, this is Kent County. Both campaigns focus on Grand Rapids and the suburbs. Used to be a reliably Republican area. Trump at the moment, but look again, we're under 1,000 votes right there. Trump at the moment, but here's what you're running against, right? Joe Biden gets 52%. You go back to 2016, Donald Trump carried this with 48% in a state, you know, if Michigan's going to be very close, it's 154,000. It's the biggest lead Biden had in any of the battlegrounds 4 years ago. But if you're going to be competitive for Donald Trump, you'd like to turn this red. If you can't turn it red, you would at least like to narrow that margin for Donald Trump. So we'll watch and see how this plays out in 2024. Come back to today's map here. was just on the texting, I was going to say on the phone, it's texting, it's the same thing, with a key Democrat out in Michigan who said they're a little nervous about here, not Monroe County, but Wayne County. Said they're a little nervous about Wayne County. I think turnout among Democrats might be down a little bit in Wayne County. That would be a problem. The African American vote in Detroit, the student vote, Wayne State, places like that, absolutely critical for the Democratic coalition. So we'll see when we get. Wayne County is always late to report, so it's going to be a while. We'll see if that's true, if those fears are true among Democrats, that maybe turnout is down a little bit here. If it is, then the vice president has to make it up here. Oakland County, again, 20 years ago, a Republican suburb, 58% right now. We're just approaching 40%. 58%. Remember, Joe Biden carried Michigan 4 years ago to 56%. That would help. If you're above Biden, maybe you get a little math to make up if you're losing a little bit in the city. We'll see if that plays out as we thought. I just want to pop down to bring this issue on the table as well. Washtenaw County, absolutely critical. Young voters were critical to the Biden coalition in 2020, even more critical when Governor Whitmer won re-election in 2022, and the Michigan Democrats made gains in the legislature. Washtenaw County is the home of Ann Arbor. It is the home of the University of Michigan. Been there 4 times over the last year, and it's on now.
As you can see in your bottom left screen, Trump has 105 electoral votes.
President Biden. The question
Kamala has 27.
Could she heal that wound in the Democratic coalition? So you see her enrollment 22%, so we have a long way to go. 60% for the vice president there right now. 72% for the president of the United States. If that number stays that way, that's a problem. That's a problem. If 73%, if you round that up in Washtenaw County, 61% or 60% actually, you can't round that up quite yet. So that's something to keep an eye on as we go forward. And I just want to come out just the other day, I was also here, Michigan State is in Lansing in Ingham County. And again, we're trying to get students to turn out. It was at a Trump phone bank here, mostly young men, college students, young men there. 50% for the vice president right there. You come back in time, and 65% for the president of the United States. So as we go through battleground Michigan, it's early. It's early. So I'm not, this comparison is not in cement yet, but these are the places you want to watch. At the moment, in a couple of key places, that would be Ingham County and Washtenaw County, Jake. She's trailing the president, so she needs to, if you want to get your math up in Michigan, watch those in the hours ahead.
All right. Now let's check in on the all-important race to 270 electoral votes as we head into another round of poll closings. So, with Donald Trump is in the lead here with 105 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has.
I just want to be fair. Let's see what Fox News talking about.
The darker the red, the more Republican the vote is. If you see shades of blue, that means the margin in that county is 10% or less. If you see a shade
I ain't got nothing against Fox News. It's just how they kind of doing the election. They ain't really giving me the information that I need. How CNN is
we want to watch. Let's look at the vote margin now for Georgia.
Doing a whole lot of talking. I ain't trying to see no talking.
This is interesting.
Give me
right?
numbers.
Estimated vote in from battleground North Carolina.
See what I'm saying? Numbers. Numbers is what I want to see, damn it.
56.9% of the vote. Donald Trump has 41.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris currently has 59,000 plus more votes. That's with 7% of the estimated vote. It's still very early. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the all-important battleground, Kamala Harris in the lead there with 69.8% of the vote. Donald Trump has 29.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 323,000 plus vote lead, but that's only 11% of the estimated vote in. It's still very early in Pennsylvania. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead, 55.6% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 43.8% of the vote. Donald Trump has currently a 339,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than half of the vote in battleground Georgia, 54% of the estimated vote in from Georgia. Poll closings just minutes from now at 9 Eastern, when a total of 163 electoral votes are at stake in 15 states. Remember, 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. All voting is about to end in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, the battleground state of Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, battleground Wisconsin, and Wyoming. As I mentioned, Michigan and Wisconsin are the two battlegrounds on the line in the hour ahead. Pillars of the Democrats' so-called blue wall. that crumbled in 2016, but was rebuilt to help seal President Biden's victory 4 years ago. Out west, Arizona is another major presidential battleground that we're watching. We're heading into a high-stakes hour in the Harris-Trump contest, with polling places about to close in 3 states that could decide the race. Let's go to Abby Phillip at Harris Campaign Headquarters in Washington. And Abby, voting is about to end in 3 battlegrounds. What's the outlook in the Harris campaign?
Yeah, Jake, I mean, I think the banner that you guys have right now is pretty much where the Harris campaign is. It is early in the night, and they're not seeing any clear picture of where this race is headed just yet. For that reason, they are really focused on the battleground of Pennsylvania, because that really becomes the linchpin of a strategy to get to 270. If they get Pennsylvania, the rest of the path becomes much more clear. So as I've been talking to people tonight, they're really waiting to see how these results, as they are coming in, really.
The last 2 times around, we'll see whether or not he can hold. Big Senate race in Ohio as well, Bernie Moreno against Sherrod Brown. We'll track that throughout the night as well. Basically in Ohio, you've got Cincinnati and Hamilton County. You got Columbus and Franklin County. You got Cleveland and Cuyahoga. Those are your 3 main population centers. They have been blue for some time. I would not expect them to be even a shade of rosé. Okay, let's go into my hometown. That's Hamilton County. Strong performance here. About 2/3 of the vote going to Kamala Harris. This is one of these, that's the cities where the progressives and the Democratic movement has gotten to be pretty strong, especially in local government as well in that city. This is Franklin County. You got Ohio State University there, so you got a strong student vote as well. Greater than 2/3 going to Kamala Harris right now. In 2020, the final vote in Franklin County, which is Columbus, you had 65% of the vote for Joe Biden there. So a little bit of the vote still out there, but she is overperforming Biden's number from 4 years ago. And this, I'll just finish up here, guys. Cuyahoga, to check this. Heavily Democratic, 3-1 Democratic votes in Cleveland, Ohio. Cuyahoga, just about 1/3 of the vote right now is in, and Kamala Harris, 71%. And Biden was at 66, so that'd be a good number for Kamala Harris if indeed that holds up. And I think that kind of tells us a little bit about why this number is closer than it's been the last 2 times.
Do you want to talk to your co-anchor?
Well, I mean, one of the things I think is pretty interesting is that, especially when you're looking at or considering the political realignment that we're living in, and also the population changes, right? So post-COVID, people leaving the North and the Midwest and going South. That's one of the things that, as somebody from Colorado will say, all these people moved in from California, and Colorado was reliably red when I was a kid. It is now reliably blue. And so you get South Park making fun of California all the time and being very frustrated that they moved there. That's not happening.
Critical battleground states. I wanted to look at Biden's approval rating, just as sort of a baseline of the environment in these 3 states. Nationally, his approval rating has been updated to 40% in the exit polls nationally. In Arizona, you see here, Jake, he's at 43%. He's slightly above his national approval number in Arizona. If you look at Michigan, he's at 42% approval. Again, slightly above where he is nationally at 40. But Wisconsin's a different story. His approval rating, the sitting president, Joe Biden, is at 38% in Wisconsin. That is below where he is nationally. 61% of Wisconsin voters in this election disapprove of the job Joe Biden's doing. That's a hurdle that Kamala Harris is going to have to jump here in the Badger State. Okay?
All right, David Chang, thanks so much. This would have been a very different race if Joe Biden had stayed in it. I mean, if it ends with a Trump victory, and we have no idea how it's going to end, so don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But there's going to be a lot of finger pointing and recriminations and wondering. But these approval ratings for Joe Biden are brutal.
6 in 10 in Wisconsin say that they don't approve of the president. I mean, it is brutal, and there's no other way to look at it. And that is, no question, a big headwind for Kamala Harris. Despite the fact that she has been trying to separate herself, despite the fact that she is saying that she wants to turn the page and that she's a new generation and all the things that we've heard in every one of her stump speeches, that is a number that there is no question the Harris campaign is looking at and saying, we hope that that doesn't bleed into Harris and the actual votes.
Especially since the Trump campaign tried to do an effective job in tying her to that administration, saying not just that